Hello and welcome. Let's look at the magician in various tarot decks throughout history. We begin with the Tarocchi Visconti Sforza. This one is by Il Meneghello, Milan, 1450 approximately. And here we have a seated magician, which is a bit unusual. He looks very well off, right? He looks refined in his fine, rich red clothing, his nice hat, and whatever he's working on, he looks like he is really concentrating and working hard. This is the Tarot de Paris from Paris, early 1600s. And this one is interesting because here we have the magician's, his predecessor, the Le Batelier. He's not alone, which is also unusual for the magician. We often see him depicted alone. And here he is either entertaining or doing something for these two male figures. And we also have a dog and a monkey at his feet. And in this deck, this card is associated with craftsmanship and commerce. So Le Batelier, the juggler, in this case, often can be associated with street entertainment, but also a little bit of like a con artist. And, we've all seen those images, those videos of like the monkeys that entertain, but then they take your money. But I do like that one. I think it's a pretty interesting depiction of the magician or the juggler. This is a Tarot de Marseilles, the Noble by Jean-Claude Flournoy, 1650. And here we have a magician that starts to look more like the one that most of us know. And he is at his table with various tools. But again, he has this court jester appearance to him. And his tools are not really like the elemental tools that we know today. They are, again, kind of like the tools of a street entertainer. They're like dice. Maybe these are balls, and the cups perhaps that he would kind of shuffle around and you would kind of pick to see which one it is, and sort of gambling kind of game. And he is definitely more of an entertainer. Again, he still has that word il batelier, le batelier, the juggler. This is Il Bagato from the ancient Italian tarot by Lo Scarabeo, Milan, 1835 roughly. And again, Il Bagato is still the juggler. And I think this one is quite interesting because he's definitely more refined. I mean, that's the sopraffina style. But I think there's just a lot more going on here now. Like this looks more like a workman's bench rather than just a street juggler. And he's enjoying a glass of wine. He appears to have an apron on over his pretty nice looking clothes. I mean, I don't know if this was nice clothes in that era. They look like nice clothes to me today, although his hat does look like a worker's hat. So I think this is a very interesting card. And again, I like how he's looking at us, which is a bit of a theme with this deck. This is the Atea deck by Lo Scarabeo from the 1870s. And this one is quite different now. So for starters, Atea puts him at number 15. He's not number 1 in the deck, but that deck has a whole other different kind of structure anyway. And here he is both the magician or the juggler. He doesn't really look like a juggler to me, though. He very much does look like a magician, and he's got now the addition of these symbols on his table. And interestingly, the meaning of this card is maladies. Atea associates this card with danger and dangerous friendships and also cheating and boastfulness when reversed. So it takes on a little bit of a darker meaning, I think. In 1909, of course, we get the famous magician that most of us know today from A.E. Waite and Pamela Colman Smith. And here he's really quite transformed. I think he has basically lost his origins as a street entertainer, as a juggler, as possibly a con artist, and is a more youthful figure, I think, and definitely a magician, right? Like this is the influence now of the Golden Dawn, where we have the infinity symbol, the as above, so below kind of stance, the elemental tools, and some other symbols, including the colors that the creators added to this card. One thing that's interesting about it is that I think that although this card doesn't technically have that infinity symbol, some people do note that the hat has a similar shape. And so perhaps that symbol was there all along. So here we have the Thoth by Crowley and Lady Frida Harris. And this deck was started in the 30s, but it wasn't published until the 60s. And then we have by now also the Golden Dawn influence and Crowley's own ideas. And here, again, he is a full-on magician. He's the magus. He has associated with, much like here, he's associated with skills and wisdom and will and transformation. Occult wisdom as well, determination, all of those kinds of things. Occasionally also maintains, depending on the other cards around him and whether it's reversed, does maintain some of the origins of deceit potentially as well and cheating, but mostly it's a pretty positive card and it retains that energy of creativity. This is The Magician from the Modern Witch Tarot by Lisa Sturl. And I have to admit, I did not love this when it first came out because I thought that she's too young. That was really kind of my sense of it. She's too young to represent mastery. And but then I also think this card does quite a few things very well. I mean, it's not like this guy over here is like, full of maturity. But one thing I think that this card does very well is it captures the spirit of playfulness that is evident in the early cards where the magician is a juggler. And I think she also brings a certain duality. I think she could represent mastery, but she could also represent showmanship and performance. Kind of like she's showing off something that she doesn't actually really have. So a little bit of that con artist. I think this card could represent all of those things. Although it's worth noting that the booklet that comes with this deck does not have any negative associations for this card at all. And the meanings are all about, having dreams and having all the tools that you need and believing in yourself and making those dreams a reality. That's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, share. And if you have any questions or feedback, I'd love to hear that as well. Take care.